What's up, guys? So a few days ago I uploaded a video where I referenced a tier list for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and a lot of people asked me in the comments, like, wait a minute, how are Ryu and Ken in different positions on the tier list when they're like the same character? Aren't Ryu and Ken the same? They have the same special moves. And the answer is, well, it kind of depends. Depending on which Street Fighter game we're talking about, Ryu and Ken have various differences between each other. So what I've done for you today is I've gone through every single mainline entry in the Street Fighter series, and we're going to discuss the differences between Ryu and Ken so you can see the evolution over time from these characters being literally just clones of each other that play the exact same, diverging into completely different characters with their own move lists, their own play styles, and their own different placement on the various tier lists. So I've tried my best to make this as comprehensive as I can, but I'm sure there's some stuff I missed. So be sure to let me know down in the comments if there's anything I didn't get in the video, and I hope that you enjoy. Thanks for watching, guys. Alright, so starting off here in Street Fighter 1, an interesting thing about Street Fighter 1, there's only two playable characters, Ryu and Ken. You can't pick any of the other characters in the game. Those are AI only. And Ryu and Ken are actually identical in this game. Other than their sprites, there is literally no difference between the two characters. They play the exact same, and boy, does this game play poorly. It's like impossible to do special move inputs in this game, but they do like 40% of your health if they connect, so that's kind of cool. But I don't recommend checking out Street Fighter 1 other than just as a novelty. It's not a fun game to play, and Ryu and Ken play the exact same. But moving on to Street Fighter 2, the very first version, the World Warrior, Ryu and Ken are actually mostly identical in this game as well. The first version of Street Fighter 2 did not allow both players to play the same character, which is kind of a bummer. So having Ryu and Ken was kind of a way that the two players could play against each other with the same character. So their special moves, their normals, all that stuff is the exact same between the two characters. Literally the only difference in Street Fighter 2 World Warrior between Ryu and Ken happens to be their back throw with kick. So when Ken does the back throw, he actually will do like a little bit of a backwards roll. You'll see Ryu, he just throws you backwards when he does his back throw. Ken does a little roll when he throws you backwards. Does this matter? Not really. It's just a small visual change. I guess you could argue that Ken can get you into the corner faster by throwing backwards, but I don't think that ever really comes up. So that's literally the only difference between the two characters in World Warrior. But moving on to Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, we got some new character portraits, and we got some new differences between Ryu and Ken. So now, Ryu, his fireball is actually 2 frames faster to come out than Ken. It's very hard to tell, and you would think 2 frames wouldn't matter that much, but it does matter a little bit. It makes Ryu just a little bit better in the fireball war versus Ken. But on the other hand, Ken's Dragon Punch is a little bit better. You can see Ken's Dragon Punch does 2 hits when it lands. It does a decent amount more damage and more stun. So you can see already they're kind of pushing Ryu to be more fireball oriented and Ken to be more Dragon Punch oriented. And that's going to continue across most versions here. Another small change here is that Ken's Tatsu, his Hurricane Kick, does not knock down. You can hit with multiple hits of Ken's Tatsu. Ryu's Tatsu always knocks down after 1 hit, so you cannot land multiple hits of it in a combo. Next up, Super Street Fighter 2. We got new portraits. I think they look really good in this game. Finally, the portraits look amazing. And we got some pretty big differences between the characters. Ryu can now throw a flaming fireball by doing a half circle forward motion, which is kind of cool. You can see it does this flame animation when it hits the opponent. But even more important, if you're up close and you do this, it knocks the opponent down. So Ryu can knock you down with a fireball if used at close range, which is a really big deal, and it really helps out Ryu's pressure game and his combo game, comboing into the fireball for a knockdown. But Ken gets a new flaming attack too, which will be his heavy Dragon Punch, his heavy punch Shoryuken. You can see Ryu's hasn't really changed, still looks the same. Ken's now has a fire effect on it, and it does 3 hits now instead of 2. So that's pretty cool, and again, it continues over that Ryu's Dragon Punch in combos will do a little bit less damage and stun compared to Ken's, which is going to do more. And then finally, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or Super Turbo, they introduced a lot more changes here. Ryu now has an overhead on forward medium punch. He now has a forward moving command normal on forward heavy punch. Ken's heavy kick is a completely new normal, and he gets a new special move called Crazy Kicks, which lets him do these weird, not very useful kick strings, including an overhead. Ryu's throws are unchanged in Super Turbo. They're pretty much the same as they have been, but Ken gets a new throw. Forward plus medium kick, he can throw you with this knee bash, which resets to standing and allows him to do some really nasty mix-ups. He also has an air throw, which is pretty sick. Ryu did not get an air throw in this game, but Ken did. But probably the biggest difference between these characters in Super Turbo is their supers. Ryu's super is an extremely powerful fireball, the Shinku Hadoken, that he can use to win Fireball Wars. Ken's is the Shoryu Reppa, a sort of double dragon punch that he can combo into using a glitch called Renda canceling, which is a very powerful technique that helps him out a lot. So, you know, Super Turbo still sees a lot of tournament play, and Ryu and Ken, I think this is the first game where they really feel like different characters because of the new normals, the new special move for Ken, his new knee bash throw. I think you can really feel like Ryu and Ken have really different strategies in this game, and they each have their own things that make them really fun and unique. Ryu is generally considered better than Ken in this game, but it's close. Ken is not bad, but Ryu, I think the power of his super especially helps him out a lot. But we're moving on to Street Fighter Alpha 1. A lot has carried over from Super Turbo. Ryu still has his flaming fireball if you do a half circle forward. So you can see he can knock you down with a fireball from up close. Ken still has the flaming Shoryuken, does an absolute grip of damage in this version. Ken gets a new special move in this game, which is this neat roll, which allows him to pass through fireballs. So you can see they're kind of pushing Ken towards a more aggressive strategy. Ken wants to get in and fight from close range, whereas Ryu wants to play from a little bit farther away and pressure you with fireballs. They also gave Ryu a new command normal. Forward plus medium kick does this hop kick. This move has not been in very many Street Fighter games, but I would like to see it appear in more. Ken gets a new command normal too. Forward plus medium kick with Ken does a 2-hit overhead, pretty similar to Ryu's forward medium punch overhead that he got in Street Fighter 2. Shinku Hadoken and Shoryu Reppa return from Super Turbo, but Ryu and Ken each got a new super in Street Fighter Alpha, which is pretty cool. Ryu gets the Shinku Tatsumaki, which is a super version of Hurricane Kick, and Ken gets the Shin Ryuken, which is a new upwards spiraling uppercut, which looks really cool. Next up, we're moving on to Street Fighter Alpha 3. Not a lot changed from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2 for these two characters, so I didn't feel like recording footage of that. But one thing that they did give Ryu that carried over to Alpha 3 is a fake fireball. If you do a fireball with the taunt button, he throws a fake fireball, so that's pretty cool. You can bait people with it. We also got new supers for both characters in Alpha 3. Ryu gets the Shin Shoryuken, which does extra damage if you space it out well. And then Ken gets the Shippu Jinrai Kyaku, or just Shippu, which will come back a lot in future games. We'll see that super ends up being pretty useful in games like this, Street Fighter 3, the new generation. A ton changed about both these characters in this game. First of all, their normals are mostly pretty similar, except medium kick and heavy kick are very different for both characters. You can see they've got different angles and different sort of ranges that they cover. Ryu also gets a new special move in Street Fighter 3, which is cool, the donkey kick. Ken gets a new target combo, medium punch, heavy punch, which is really useful for him doing extra damage up close, sort of reinforcing that aggressive playstyle. Ryu gets a new super, Denjin Hadoken, which you can charge, and it's unblockable and does a high amount of stun if you charge it up. With Ken, his Shippu Jinrai Kyaku returns and is even more powerful than before. Very easy to combo into off of lots of different stuff for Ken. You'll see this ends up being pretty much his best super across every version of Street Fighter 3. Really, really powerful, lots of damage, and easy to land. Moving on to Street Fighter 3 Second Impact Giant Attack. I don't know why this game has two subtitles, but it's kind of funny. They gave Ryu a second super meter for his Denjin. I cannot believe that you can build up 2 meters, throw one Denjin, and immediately have another one ready. That is crazy to me. But they also gave Ken 3 slots for his Shippu super, and this remains a very powerful super and easy to combo into. Another important thing that Second Impact Giant Attack added was EX moves. So by spending a little bit of bar, you can throw a powered up version of a special move. Ryu's Red Fireball returns as an EX move, which I think is really cool. Ken, now his EX Tatsu makes him travel very far, but Ryu's EX Tatsu leaves him horizontal, sort of a throwback to his Shinku Tatsumaki, which I think is really cool. And then finally, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, a lot has changed. First of all, the super meters are different lengths now, so Ryu has to make a tough choice. Does he run with Denjin, which is a powerful super, but he only gets one medium-sized super bar, or does he run Shinku Hadoken, which gives him 2 long super bars and lets him take more advantage of his EX moves? Ken, though, is pretty much always going to run Shippu. Shippu is one of the best supers in this game, and really what makes the character good. Ken got some new command normals, forward medium kick, and then his old forward medium kick overhead is moved to back medium kick. He also has forward heavy kick, which is a sort of stepping overhead that you can feint by holding the button and then go for a throw or a low. So Third Strike, it's interesting. This is actually one of the only mainline Street Fighter games where Ken is considered pretty significantly stronger than Ryu in terms of tournament play. A lot of that does come down to his super. He gets 3 super bars and he builds them very fast, and this super is so easy to combo into, and you get good mix-up afterwards, so Ken is absolutely a powerhouse in Third Strike. Alright guys, we're in the home stretch now. Moving on to Street Fighter 4. A lot has carried over from Street Fighter 3 and the other versions, I would say. But we have the addition of Ultras, which are a big deal. Ryu has one of the best Ultras in Street Fighter 4. It does a grip of damage, and it is very easy to combo into off of all kinds of stuff. I swear, Ryu can land his Ultra off of like any hit. It's pretty crazy. Even in certain situations, he can land it meterless, which is very rare. So all that combined made Ryu one of the best characters in vanilla Street Fighter 4. Ken, on the other hand, his Ultra, you know, you could combo into it sometimes, but it did not the full hits. It's really hard to combo into the entire animation of the Ultra. You need a lot of meter and some pretty specific circumstances, so Ken not quite as good as Ryu in vanilla Street Fighter 4, but he does have a really fast step kick. They really made this thing fast from what it was in Street Fighter 3, and by canceling the startup of step kick into throw, Ken can perform a throw with very extended range. You can see even from ranges where normal characters can't land a throw, Ken can. This is called a Kara throw, and Ken had the best Kara throw in Street Fighter 4, so that was nice. And then with Super Street Fighter 4 and onwards, every character got a second Ultra. Ryu's is Metsu Shoryuken. Extremely damaging, but pretty hard to land. In a lot of situations, similar to Ken's Ultra 1, you're not going to get the full hits if you try to combo into his Ultra, so that's a bummer. And then Ken's Ultra 2, occasionally you can get an amazing moment where this goes through a fireball or something, but it's pretty hard to land, and you really can't combo into it except in the most specific of circumstances, so I think generally his Ultra 1 was considered better. Moving on to Street Fighter 5, we're booking it through here. Not that much has changed with Ryu. He plays pretty similar to what he did before, except now every character has a V skill and a V trigger. Ryu's V skill is a parry, which is kind of cool, harkening back to the parry system of Third Strike. And then his V trigger, once you activate it, his fireballs are going to be powered up, so that's pretty cool. They go faster, do more damage, and you can charge them up to break guard, kind of a throwback to Denjin Hadoken from Third Strike. And if you're powered up and you do his super, it actually becomes the Denjin Hadoken and will break their guard. Ken is drastically changed in SF5, maybe for the better or for the worse in some ways. He no longer has his step kick. Now he has a V skill that makes him run, which kind of replaces that. He can use that for rushdown or for mix-ups. His Tatsus are interesting in this game. His Tatsu's knocked down for the first time in a really long time, and his heavy Tatsu flies at kind of this arc, which is cool. EX Tatsu goes at this upward sort of anti-air arc, or if you do it in the air, it acts kind of like a dive kick you can combo off of, so that's nice. And then his V trigger is going to set his feet on fire, make all these Tatsus do the extra fire damage that's associated with his heavy uppercut, and you can combo off them in some circumstances. So Ken, much more rushdown oriented even than he was before in SF5. And then with Arcade Edition and Champion Edition of SF5, they added V Skill 2 and V trigger 2 for every character. Ken's V skill 2 is this sort of kick that looks like an overhead, but it's not really, but you can occasionally use it to get around fireballs. And his V trigger 2 is the return of the Shin Ryuken. It does a lot less damage, but now you can usually get a few of them in before your V trigger 2 meter runs out, so that is pretty awesome. And then Ryu, his V skill 2 is going to be this sort of stepping lunge punch. I'm not crazy about this thing, like, I don't really get why he has this. He's never had this in a game before. What does it mean? I don't really understand the use of that move, but his V trigger 2 is pretty neat. It's going to apply electricity to his hands. Now he has access to a new parry move that whenever you happen to land this, he does a great deal of damage to the opponent, and you can combo off it. So it's sort of, if you run V skill 2, you can run V trigger 2 to still have a parry. So that's pretty cool. And basically, I feel like I've run through most of it here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. It was a lot of work for me to put all this together, but I hope the reward was worth it. Be sure to let me know if there's stuff that I missed down in the comments. I'm sure I missed a lot. It was really hard to cram all of these games into one video, but I had a lot of fun doing it. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, I'll have a lot more cool fighting game content coming for you in the future. So that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.